No one was supposed to know she had come to Denmark. Australian Mary Donaldson was already known in Danish weekly magazines, but had never been to the country where her boyfriend was the Crown Prince. Only the closest friends of Crown Prince Frederick knew anything. They helped the Crown Prince bring her to Denmark. It had been about 24 years since Mary Donaldson sat between two drunk, tired, and avidly smoking brothers in the Slip-In restaurant. It happened in Sydney during the Olympic Games in September 2000. One brother tried to convince her that he was an Olympic triathlon champion. The other was ready to laugh at that story. Poor her, Prince Joachim later said. It was he who, jokingly, tried to convince Mary that he was an Olympic participant. But 28-year-old Mary struck up a conversation with another brother, who introduced himself as Frederick. They danced and went into town, talking for a long time, and taking a taxi home. When Mary stood near her house, Frederick asked for her phone number, which he got, and kissed her on the cheek. Before he returned to Denmark, the couple met as often as possible. They walked, swam at the beach, and ate sushi. They were both very drawn to each other. There was something inexplicably attractive about her. She was calm, had a deep voice, incredibly charming, and we talked together wonderfully, Crown Prince Frederick said in his book. It seemed too good to be true to him. Mary Donaldson felt the same, because she could mark all the qualities that, she once thought, the man of her dreams would possess. Just for fun, I always told myself that I would like to find a man who can dance, ride a horse, speak several languages, swim well, and wear good shoes. He had the whole package, she said. However, Frederick is not a natural dancer, she added, laughing. Over the next year, the relationship was maintained by phone, email, and letters. Crown Prince Frederick visited her several times and managed to keep their love a secret for just over a year. But on November 12, 2001, the world ended. One day, when Mary left work, a journalist ran after her. "I know you're a friend of our Crown Prince," the camera flash went off. I would really like to see my face at that moment. It seemed like everything stopped. I was so shocked that I couldn't think of what to say, Mary said. After that, a wild hunt began for Mary. Photographers became a constant part of her everyday life. They were outside her home and workplace. This was her first encounter with the official part of Crown Prince Frederick's life. Otherwise, he tried to keep her away for as long as possible. When, a month later, Mary first came to Denmark, she received another revelation about Crown Prince's work. Mary Donaldson and Crown Prince Frederick decided to spend New Year's together in Denmark with their friends in December 2001. But the Crown Prince wanted his girlfriend to avoid press attention, therefore he preferred to keep the visit secret. So Mary flew from Oxford, where she spent Christmas, to Hamburg. Here she was picked up by a good friend of the Crown Prince, Jep Handwerk, and his wife Birgitte. It seemed a bit strange to me to make my way to the country, but then I didn't know much about how good the press is here, Mary said. Now she was secretly transported across the border and through Jutland. She remembers how the snow melted and how at one point Jep Handwerk pulled into a dark rest area. And suddenly, Crown Prince Frederick appeared in his car. Mary approached his car, and together they drove to Berkelskads in northern Jutland, where the friend of the Crown Prince, estate owner Jorgen Skeel, was celebrating New Year's. Here they celebrated New Year's with many of the Crown Prince's friends. One of the guests taught Mary Donaldson to count to 10 and shout Happy New Year when she jumped off her chair. "Those were my very first words in Danish," she says. The next day, the royal program adhered to the traditions of the New Year's table, and it was here that Mary first saw her husband-to-be, the Crown Prince. As she sat on the couch watching TV, Frederick went to change clothes, and when he returned, he was dressed in full dress uniform. Mary Donaldson thought he looked divinely handsome. It was the year when she and Frederick decided to fully and firmly dedicate themselves to their relationship, and she moved to Denmark. Now the Danish press could follow the Crown Prince's girlfriend much more closely. One of those who followed Mary Donaldson from the very beginning was photographer Han Juel. She vividly remembers her first meeting with the Crown Prince's girlfriend, which was, to put it mildly, chaotic. In August 2002, the entire Danish press stood ready outside the palace church of Fredensborg in hopes that Crown Prince Frederick would appear with his girlfriend at the wedding of his good friend. There were no cordons or press services covering the royal family back then, remembers Han Jewel. One thing she notices when she sees her photos from that time is that Mary Donaldson was simultaneously unsure and nervous. She walked, slightly leaning forward, and looked a little embarrassed at us, with a light smile. And, according to the experienced photographer, Mary acted absolutely correctly. She didn't say anything. Because although the journalist's big dream was to get the new girlfriend of Crown Prince Frederick to speak out, Han Jewel believes it was good that she remained silent. She did exactly what she was supposed to do. She smiled, behaved very friendly, but didn't say anything. In her opinion, it was absolutely perfect on her part. However, inside the walls of Amalienborg Castle, Mary Donaldson had to speak a lot. Over the next year, preparations slowly began for life as the future crown princess. She received intensive Danish language lessons for 3 hours a day, which included conversational speech, writing style, reading books and newspapers, and watching Matador. The royal family learned lessons from past mistakes and success stories. Prince Henrik was criticized for most of his life for never mastering the Danish language. In turn, Mary Donaldson's closest colleague, Princess Alexandra, received applause for her excellent Danish language skills. Perhaps that's why Mary and the advisors to the royal family decided that she should speak Danish when she first met with the international press. But perhaps it was not quite the right decision. In any case, it ended with unpleasant consequences. It was a flushed, hesitant, and overwhelmed future crown princess who sat on the couch in the garden hall of Fredensborg Castle when the press conference began. She started by taking the floor herself. Good day. Before we begin, I would like to say a few words. I am very happy to be in Denmark, so I'm sure you understand that I'm a bit nervous, she began. This was followed by several more uncertain Danish sentences with a strong Australian accent. And then it was the press's turn to ask questions. They made a mistake by allowing the crown princess to start the conversation in Danish, but at that time she couldn't speak Danish. It was absolutely clear that she had memorized these phrases, says Jacob Stin Olsen, the royal commentator at Berlingske. Journalists were not used to asking questions in English when she started in Danish, and then it became awkward. Soon it became clear that Mary Donaldson struggled to understand many questions and answer them. Journalists wanted to know what made her fall in love with Frederick. What does she think about Denmark? What should her role as a crown princess entail? And if she and the crown prince were to have many children? At some point, you can see her reaching for the crown prince's hand, trying to find something to hold on to, and it's understandable because she looks unsure, says Jacob Stin Olsen. Despite the nervousness and uncertainty, the press conference was successful. The Danes loved Mary.